Welcome to the Overlady Reads, the show where I, the Overlord, have a wife, the Overlady, and she reads. And today we've read Rhythm of War Part 3.
Yes.
Yes, we have. Unlike the other episodes where we were kind of neck and neck with where we were in Rhythm of War, I've now finished the book, and Lucy's only just finished Part 3.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to spoil things past Part 3, because, if you know, you know. And so, don't worry about us spoiling Part 3, Part 4 and 5, but we will be spoiling Part 3. So shall we talk about some Rhythm of War Part 3, Lucy?
I'm glad you're not spoiling it for them like you did for me.
I haven't spoiled anything for you. Okay, I spoiled the name of a chapter for you.
You're awful. So.
Oh, before chapters. Epigraphs. Thoughts? You have none, do you?
I have none. I didn't read them.
Oh my god. I mean, to be honest, I don't think, because even me, who's they're Cosmere sciencey stuff, and they're kind of hinting at what Navani and Raboniel are doing. But even I was kind of there's some cool intense stuff in there, which for me, as the Cosmere person, there's some really cool intense stuff in there. But other than that, I found them really boring.
Oh, I can understand them, so I just didn't bother.
That's fine. Cool.
You're
Excellent.
Welcome.
God, man, imagine, I want to get a Hessi's Mythica again. That was great, but then I love Unmade. The Hessi's Mythica is part 3 of Oathbringer, where it gives you details on all the Unmade, and this one was just kind of two women sniping at each other in a thing. That's something you probably didn't notice. Some of it was written by Raboniel and some of it was written by Navani. You have to try and work out which one's which by what they're saying, and whether it's an annotation or if it's their thing. Yeah.
Oh.
Cool. Yeah.
I assumed it was from an ancient book.
No! Oh my god! The whole part is about Navani and Raboniel writing this book called The Rhythm of War. That's what the whole part's about. Well done, Lucy. Well done. I'm really proud of you.
I've just realised my mistake.
What's that?
It's because on the ship, don't worry, Yasna gives Shallan
The Book of Endless Pages. Oh no, she gives her the Words of Radiance.
Words of Radiance.
Yes.
I thought she gave her Rhythm of War.
No, she gives her Words of Radiance. The book's called Words of Radiance.
I now know my mistake, okay?
Okay.
I've been sitting here the whole time wow, poor Shallan having to read this fucking book.
Yeah. No. Cool. Okay.
It's the part 3.
So part 3. Let's jump right into it.
Finally,
after that disaster.
After that clickbaity junk at the beginning. Right. So, part 3 starts with Kaladin trying to find a safe place in
Urithiru.
He has Teft across his shoulders. They've just escaped from the surgery. So he's trying to find somewhere to take him. So he starts moving up the tower to the higher floors because they're currently unoccupied. And whilst doing this, he is chased by the pursuer.
Yes.
Who, upon hearing that Kaladin has surfaced on the 6th floor, is now trying to find him. And he's had reports that he ran up the stairs. So now he and his team are searching. So he's being chased. He's now backed into a dead end. He only has a surgeon's scalpel, and he's got a heavy body flung over his shoulders, and he realises that
he's a bit screwed.
Stuck.
Yeah.
So he's about to prepare himself for one last stand when the wall behind him slides open, and he darts in, and it closes just before the fused realise that he's down that dead end.
It's literally just as it closes, they reach the room he was in.
So he's found a safe place because the tower found him somewhere nice and safe.
Yeah.
And now he can look after Teft.
Yes. Cool. So and then after that we got our first Eshenai Flashback, which I was a fan of. I know some people aren't going to like these Eshenai Flashbacks, and I've spoken to some people who found them really boring.
Hi.
But
I like them.
I know, I wasn't talking about you. There was, I've spoken to some people. But I really liked them.
Name and shame. No, name and shame.
I'm not going to name and shame. I enjoyed this because it had Eshenai. She was doing a bit of exploring. something did annoy me. Because this is when she goes off, she explores, we get a bit to know a bit of Eshenai. Do we see Venli in that one?
Yes.
Yes, we see a bit of Venli, we see a bit of their relationship. And then Eshenai goes off and explores. And at the end of the chapter, she discovers the humans. And then, like, we cut. And we don't actually get to see that very first meeting of the humans and Eshenai. We cut here, and then the next flashback starts, and they're, like, already hanging out. And
I imagine it's a lot of Gavilar being like, why is this parchment refusing to carry my bags for me?
Yeah.
And Dalinar being like, I'm grumpy because I killed my wife.
I wanted to see that. That was one of the things I was looking forward to seeing in this book, was that first interaction between humans and Parshendi, and I'm kind of annoyed that we just skipped over it. But
again, it would be, why is this parchment not carrying my bags?
That sounds like it could be an entertaining scene, but alas.
I don't... Yeah, I feel like the flashbacks are quite serious.
Yeah.
I feel like a comical...
Oh, it wouldn't have been
first
comical.
meet. I feel like it
would have been. Yeah.
And I feel like that would have sort of ruined the mood of it a little bit. So then we go back to modern times, and Navani is in a room with her scholars, and she's in charge of organising them.
Yeah.
And sort of like getting them to continue the work they were doing before.
Yeah.
So she goes about sort of talking to the scholars about how they can waste time and what they should and shouldn't work on to help the fused kind of thing. And she's sort of organising them. And then she talks to the tower for a little bit about how to keep Raboniel at bay. Well, how best to keep Raboniel at bay.
Yeah.
And she asks about Kaladin. And the tower reveals that she can talk to Kaladin.
Yes, because she can see 3 spots in the tower. She can see the pillar area.
Yeah.
Kaladin, and then areas around a random singer.
Can't work out why.
Wonder why. Oh, and then a lift as well, obviously.
She can't see lift.
Oh, can you just see lift?
She can't see lift.
Cool. Okay.
How dare you?
Ugh.
Not remembering that fact. Ugh. So then Navani talks to Kaladin via the sibling, and she asks him to obviously keep safe.
Yep.
Try to find the Fabrials so that they know where to protect, because there's 3 Fabrials left.
Yeah, the 3 nodes.
The 3 nodes to keep the sibling
safe. Yeah.
And she asks him to inspect the Oath Gate and work out how they're currently working it, because it's now working on Void Light, not Stormlight.
Yeah.
And just general kind of spying on them, working out how they're getting messages and stuff.
Yeah.
And then she asks him to look for lift.
Yes.
Because the sibling can't see lift anymore.
Yeah.
She could see lift.
Okay. And
now she can't.
Cool.
So Kaladin's like, cool, that's a lot, but
That's a lot for one man.
Yeah.
Who's stuck in a box.
Yeah. So then we go to Kaladin, who uses a lashing to open a door.
Yeah.
He sneaks down to one of the lower floors and uses his pulling lashing.
Yes.
I can't remember the name.
That one is a full lashing is the make something fly.
I think it's like a half lashing or something.
Is it reverse lashing? But yes, because it sucks everything towards the thing you're touching instead of touching the thing you're touching go towards things. It's reverse lashing.
He uses his power.
This is reverse lashing.
To open up some of the lanterns on the wall and steal the spheres so that he has Stormlight. And then he goes down to the Ardent corridor because it's not very heavily guarded, and he sneaks in and he's like, hey dude, give me food, give me water, just keep providing me with the stuff that I need. And the Arden's like, yes Kaladin, because we want you to try and overthrow the tower. So he agrees to help him in secret, and then he goes back up to his room to look after Teft now that he's got supplies to
little bit of supplies.
Look after Teft with.
Yeah. And then we get a Dalinar scene. I believe this is our first Dalinar point of view of the book.
Yes.
Yes. So it's nice
First and only.
No, we get like 2 more.
First and only.
Okay, if you say so. There you go. And this is the one where he's like standing above the battlefield with the mink, and they're like talking about the battle and how like there's like no fuse there, and it's like, oh, that's kind of weird that like they're really not super committing to this battle here in Marot. I'm gonna say Marot. But then it's Azir, isn't it? Of course. And then Nail turns up, and Nail's like, "Yo, Bondsmithio, stop it!" And Dalinar's like, "No." And then we get like some cool power thing happens.
He touches him.
He touches him, and he like connects momentarily with Nail, and we get like a weird flash of like Nail's life.
Yeah.
And I couldn't work out whether it was like in reverse order, so it was like the newer memories first going back, or if it was like first memories first of like and then going forward. But there's some mental stuff in there. There's one line in there which got me really excited, but I can't remember what they are, and we're using my phone to record, and my phone has the book on it, and so I can't look it up. Anyway, that Nail stuff was really cool, and we see the Oath Pact. Like, we
Yes.
see the physical lines of connection that bind Nail to the other heralds.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, cool. I'm super okay with like this is kind of the Bondsmith stuff that I've kind of been waiting for. Like, this is the you can forge connection, you can take connection, because he can see it. He's like, cool, this thing's get to that thing. He can see that web spread across the world. I'm like, I'm starting to get excited for what a Bondsmith can do, because this is it. This is what the Bondsmith is scary for. Like, this is what makes a Bondsmith scary, is this. Anyway, cool. And then like and then Zeth like is there too, and like yeah, and then the chapter ends. I'm gonna have to reread this chapter many times.
You forget that during that, some of the runners come back from their patrol,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Hey, Urithiru's fine. We just can't use our powers for some reason.
Oh yeah.
All's good."
Yeah, and they're kind of like getting the fuse that can use light weaving to pretend to be soldiers and be like, hold up signs saying, "We're fine, it's okay."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah, I
All
like it.
good.
After that Dalinar chapter, we then get another Eshenai flashback, and like I said, it kind of skips over that meeting. I did get like a bit of this. We did get a bit of what I wanted, which is that very first humans being like, no, you're Parshmen. Why are you thinking and talking and living on your own? And we did get a bit of it in this chapter, so I liked this chapter. We see the moment that humans mistakenly decided that the Parshendi worship the Chasm Fiends, because in Way of Kings we were told that the Chasm Fiends were the Parshendi gods, and in this book it was like, I think they asked Eshenai about the Chasm Fiends, and it's like, oh, do you respect them? And she's like trying to work out what they're trying to say, and she's like, oh, do we worship them? Yes, or other way around.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, so they're your gods. And then it's like, and then we kind of get that little translation error, and we see where that comes from. And I liked that. I like that we got an explanation for why humans thought the Chasm Fiends were their gods when they definitely weren't.
No.
So, yeah.
So then we go back to modern times.
Yup.
And Navani tells the Ardents business as normal. And they plot in secret about how to overthrow the Parshendi. And Kaladin has his first nightmare.
Oh, yes.
Thanks, Moash.
This has just reminded me, we forgot to talk about the interludes because we were doing interludes at the
Aye.
front instead of the back. So we're going to quickly flash through these interludes. We get the Moash one where he's like breaking rocks or something. I don't know.
cares?
Who
It's
cares?
Moash.
But then he said, he then talks to Odium, which was cool. And he's like, you can't kill Kaladin, you have to break him. You have to smash him down. You have to get him like a rock, and you have to chill
Thanks,
his way at him.
Moash.
So he's like, I'm going to give him nightmares. And I think Moash is like in the tower at this point. He's like operating the Oath Gate. And
I
something
don't
like
care
that.
where he is.
Something like that. He's giving Kaladin nightmares because he's like, hey, you can't kill Kaladin. You have to break him. But then we get the lift. Lift interlude.
Lift has spent this entire time.
Yeah.
She, rather than taking up a room somewhere, decided that she was going to go live in the vents.
I'm going to live in the vents.
So she had made herself this cute little in the vent den.
Yeah.
And then she's watching the attack
Happen.
happen.
Yeah.
And she's sort of like crawling through the vents to like find a place to help. And then she sees two parrots fighting. So then she like goes to save the guy that owned the parrot, and that didn't quite work out.
I was going to say, it was Mraize's parrot. It was the green one, which is Mraize's, and it's the red one, which is Guy's that we see.
Random guy. Yeah. She can't save random guy.
Yeah.
She manages to fix the parrot's wing because it got hurt in the fight. And then Mraize is there.
Yes, and then Mraize is like, hey, you.
I see there's still a radiant operating here.
Yeah.
Let's make that not a thing anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's where we leave Lift.
And that's where we leave Lift. And there was a third one as well. But we didn't write any notes for these interludes because we forgot.
I think it's Taravangian.
Oh, we get another Taravangian one where he, like, plots and is stupid and is, like, upset and cries. And,
I can't remember. I think it was a Taravangian one. We're just going to assume it was.
We're going to pretend it's a Taravangian
We're just going to assume it's Taravangian being Taravangian.
We do plan these episodes. We promise. Just sometimes things slip through the cracks. Anyway, back to where we were in the book.
Well, it's not like I can go into the copper mine right now and just look this up, can I? So, we then get Dalinar walks into his war room after the battle, and all of the top players are in there. And one of the High Lords is angry about, I don't know.
I say it's Roion.
Yeah, I think he's angry because Yasna's a woman.
Yeah.
And she's in charge. And he takes it out on Wit.
Yeah.
And Wit is doing everything he can to provoke him.
Yeah. And
he finally gets provoked into a fight with Wit. And Wit's like, fighting's not really my thing. I'm going to call a champion. Hey, Yasna, come and fight this guy.
And, like, before he has he gets, like, 2 words out before Yasna just whips out Wit's rapier, which, by the way, I'm sure is special somehow, because it's something Wit has on him all times. I'm sure it's special somehow. Anyway, it just stabs him in through the neck. And, like...
Yeah. And then, obviously, because she's a Radiant, she heals the guy, and she's like...
Oh, she has Renarin heal him, because Renarin can heal.
Oh, yeah. Renarin's finally in the book. Finally. I spent the whole of the Battle of Urithiru being like, when's Renarin going to come and help?
Yes.
Because he wasn't on the Oath Gate.
Yes, it was not until we aren't explicitly told who goes with Dalinar's group.
Yeah.
You pointed out it was the Heralds and Renarin. We see them after Urithiru is attacked, but we don't... Yeah.
Yeah, we don't actually know their positioning until this point in the book.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, I guess Renarin's not at Urithiru then. I guess he's not one of the knocked out Radiants. That's quite nice.
Yeah.
So Renarin's in a tent and he heals the guy.
Yeah.
And Yasna's like...
I've already told you died, and so your lands went to your son.
Yeah.
And so you can leave now. You're banished.
Yeah, you're banished. Get out. If I want you dead, I will kill you.
Yeah.
Remember that next time.
Yeah.
And Dalinar's like... You can't just do this.
Yeah.
It's not really okay.
Yeah.
And Renarin's like, sorry, Daddy, I had to help.
And I didn't know, I kind of... We had to keep it quiet. I really liked Yasna's point there, where she's like, cool, now I can ban duels.
Yeah.
Because before, if I tried to ban duels up until this point, everyone would have been like, she's just afraid of duels. She doesn't want to duel anyone. So by being the last duel in Alethkar, she has said, I can win duels, but we will not do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I really liked that. I liked that was a cool little thing she's doing it.
I mean, she likes randomly killing men. I thought that she would have quite liked keeping the duel. It seems like her kind of thing.
It's just how she blows off steam is she just murders people.
Yeah, she's like, we'll antagonise him so that I can fight him, you know?
It's like, hey, Shallan, I'm going to go hang out in a dark alley. You want to come with? Like, it's just
Gotta teach some people a lesson.
It's just how she blows off steam.
Well, she's queen. She's not allowed to do that anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, when you're in charge, you've got to act responsible. Probably why she doesn't want the opportunity to duel, because it's too tempting. So, yeah, that scene was so cool.
That was a great scene.
Such a good scene. Like, it was really fun to read.
Wit calling out. I'm going to say it's Rorion. If it's not Rorion, sorry, Rorion. But
calling him out for, like, beating his kids.
Beating his kids. And it's like, damn, son.
Wit is just fearless.
I was about to say he went right for the jugular, but he didn't. Yasna did.
Yeah, that's just Wit's speed, isn't it? Like,
It's just...
I just love Wit's wit.
Yeah.
So then we go back to
Urithiru.
and we are now with Venli,
Yeah.
who is, now that her staff have arrived with all of the other fused
Yes.
to occupy the tower, she is now starting to plan a possible escape route
Yeah.
for when things go south and she wants to go and make her crab people colony.
Yeah.
And then I quite like the fact that she's planning an escape and she's currently in the tower
Yeah.
where Rlain is,
Yeah.
and he's the last Malin of
Yeah.
their species.
Yeah.
Because they don't know about the ones hanging out on the Shattered Plains
Yes.
yet. So right now they're the last two.
Yeah.
And Kaladin's also there, and
Mm-hmm.
Kaladin's got a bit of a soft spot for the Parshendi as well.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm really hoping that they
Those-
both join her on her escape route, and they go out into the mountains and they make a little like crab people colony.
Little crab people mountain
And I
colony.
want Leshwi to go with them so that Leshwi and Kaladin can be a pair. Because I want some little half
You want
crab
some-
human babies. They can use Stormlight and Voidlight, and it'd be fucking cute.
I agree. I understand your desire there. That would be absolutely great.
It's kind of like my end game for Kaladin is him and Leshwi being
Him
an
and Leshwi.
item.
Are you a Kaleshwi shipper, are you, Lucy? 'Cause, I mean,
Yeah.
who isn't at this point?
I mean, they clearly like each other and
Yeah.
they respect each other.
Yeah.
And they both want a society where humans and crab people live in harmony.
Yeah.
And what better way to do that than to be a couple and prove that it can,
That it can
be
be done.
accomplished?
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, when they want to blow off some steam, they can spar together
Yeah.
in the sky
Yeah.
and be all cute. Yeah, like
You're a big fan of this, aren't you?
she's the only female option I see for him.
Yeah.
He's made it quite clear that he doesn't quite understand male and male relationships.
Yeah.
So he's clearly not looking for that.
Yeah.
That's what I would like.
Yeah.
Is my crab people
Call it.
society.
Crab people Kaladin colony.
Yeah.
The crab people colony. So then we get our next flashback, and I think this one's a bit more Venli focused.
Yes.
Because obviously they split between the two, but I think this one has a bit more of we see their mum, who gets a name, and we've both forgotten the name.
Look, it's rare that mum has a name. So when they do have names, you need to make a point of not remembering them.
Exactly.
So then they can fit in with all the other Stormlight mums.
Yes. we don't want it to feel left out.
Yeah.
We get like a first couple of hints at her dementia, where she's kind of like starting to forget songs, and Venli has to correct her. Venli, I don't think Venli doesn't want to like replace her mother. She's like,
Yeah.
she's kind of been training her whole life for this moment, but she doesn't actually want to do it.
Yeah,
So it's
it's
kinda like-
just that there were no other options
Yeah.
available to her.
Yeah, so we start to see a bit of that resentfulness in Venli and that kind of building. So then she goes out because she's annoyed at Eshenai. Yeah, she's really annoyed at Eshenai because Eshenai has to do what she wants, so she has to stay home and look after her mum and remember all the
Yeah.
songs. So she goes out and she's like thinking about the humans, and then a lady named Axendweth turns up and is all like, "Hey, you, how you doing?" Speaking like perfect Parshendi with like no accent, and he's like, "Hey, how you doing? Would you like a form of power?" And then gives her a sphere and says, "Crack." She says, "Crack this in a high storm," and
Or just
it'll,
take it out with
just
you
take it out in the ice storm, and then like
Let it do its thing.
let it do its thing. And Lucy, I see you've written a note here, and I would like your theory on Axendweth.
I can't remember why I've written thanks, Brando. Oh, that's why.
Why?
Thanks, Brandon. Another name that I can't possibly say in 100,000 years.
Axendweth is well easy.
When are we swapping to names like Bob? Easy, simple names that anyone can say
Yeah.
and not get teased about.
Do you have a theory on who Axendweth is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought potentially she's one of the female heralds. Because that sounds like a heraldy kind of name. It's really old sounding and long.
It's interesting that you're saying that it sounds like a herald's name. Because to me, that name screams Terraceman. Like Tindwyl. Or I'm trying to remember any other name from a
There aren't
terrorist.
any.
But I'm like, because of like the W in it and like the way it like, and also the fact that she was speaking like perfect Parshendi made me assume she was tapping connection to the land. I'm assuming this is a Furukamist world hopper.
That makes sense.
Yes.
I quite like the idea of it being a female herald.
Okay.
Because obviously they're literally millions of years old.
Thousands.
Thousands of years
Yeah.
old. Same thing. So she's had
Order
thousands of
3
years to
Yeah.
learn
Yes.
the language of Roshar.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. No,
I think Eva is a good possibility.
Yeah.
And we've not really met any of the female heralds yet.
Yeah, we still haven't,
However-
have we? Other than Ash, yeah.
We were told they were all in the first book.
Yes.
During the first book, at the feast, Gavilar's inner circle would be there. And this woman is
would
from
be part-
Gavilar's inner circle.
Yes.
So she would have been in the background at the feast.
Okay, interesting.
So potentially that
Yeah.
could be her.
I think that is a good theory. I am just absolutely convinced this is
Yeah.
a Furukamist terrorist world hopper.
Absolutely fine. You can have your opinion and
Yeah.
I'll have mine.
Cool.
So that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I also thought potentially her mum beginning to forget her memory could be something to do with the humans' arrival.
Okay.
Because she's been fine in the other flashbacks.
Yeah.
It's only since the humans started...
I would like interacting with them.
Yeah. I thought maybe the humans could have potentially done something to affect the land and it was causing her to lose her connection with it.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure that's not the case. I'm sure it
Yeah.
is just
Dementia. Yeah.
But I thought potentially that might have something to do with it.
Okay.
Maybe. We'll just have to wait and
Find
see.
out. Oh, also something you probably didn't know. Fun fact about Singer biology: they mature much quicker than humans.
Yes.
So in these flashbacks, they're like 7 or 8 years
Yeah.
old. They're like, even though they're like fully grown, I think they're close to like 10 or 11.
Well, that's when they usually take mate form.
Yeah. Because
I think it says at some point in one of the chapters that at the age of about 8
yeah.
is when they take their first form.
Yeah.
Because if they don't take work form or mate form, then they become doll form.
Yes.
And there's no coming back from
you can-
taking doll form at that age.
Oh yeah, I think because you have to go out in the storm, and it's like
Yeah.
you don't like kids in the storms. They have to take it. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we go back to modern time Venli,
Yeah.
who, upon hearing about the scuffle in the surgeon's den
Yeah.
and hearing that the pursuer is going to start interrogating Kaladin's family, she panics because she knows what he's capable of.
Yeah.
And she goes down to Leshwi and she's like, hey, I know we're not supposed to be seen together because,
Yeah.
don't want to get either of us
I'm currently
in
working
big
for
trouble.
Raboniel. Yeah.
But I just thought you should know that the pursuer currently has Kaladin's family and he's going to torture them unless we intervene. And Leshwi's like, why do you want to save these humans? And Venli's like, well, if we want peace, we've got to work together.
Yeah.
And Leshwi agrees that she's going to take care of Kaladin's family. And she says that at the moment, the Radiants are beginning to... The ones that are unconscious are beginning to become ill because they don't know how to care for them.
They're getting like bed sores and, they're coming
Yeah.
down with fevers. And it's like, we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We've got
So-
like 40 people in comas in a room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she agrees to care for them under the ruse that they're going to look after the fallen Radiants
Yeah.
because he's a surgeon and they know what they're
They
doing.
know what they're doing.
So yeah, she leaves knowing that they're now going to be cared for
Yeah.
and kept alive.
Yeah.
Then baby Oridon's gonna be kept alive a little bit longer.
Yes.
Yay.
You're happy about Baby Oridon?
For now.
For now. For now.
For now. So then we go to Dalinar. He gets another chapter.
Yeah.
He's only got a couple of chapters, so it's not like the other books where he is the majority of the book.
I was going to say, this reminds me very similar of Way of Kings. Way of Kings had, like, Dalinar has some chapters in, like, part 2 and, like, part 4, and then a couple in part 5. He's, like...
Yeah, but when he gets chapters, he
gets
tends to be
Yeah.
the overwhelming majority of them.
Yeah.
So it's nice that I feel like this book flows much better.
Yeah.
And it's because I haven't got to sit through
I'd say I
the
forgot
boring
you don't
hour-long
like
Dalinar chapters.
Because I really like Dalinar, and, like, I kind of feel like he's taken a step back and then Navani took a step forward, and I'm perfectly okay with that.
See, I do like Dalinar, but in short bursts.
Yeah.
So this is working beautifully for me.
Okay, cool.
I can't deal with a lot of Dalinar, so this
Yeah.
is perfect.
Yeah.
So then we go to Dalinar.
Yeah.
He's putting Gavinor to bed. And Gavinor's like, was my dad a good man? And Dalinar's like, yeah, of course he was.
Yeah.
And Gavinor's like, not like my mummy. And because Dalinar is
Yeah.
like, yeah, he's not one of those monsters. And Gavinor's like my mum was. And Dalinar's like, no, your mum was fine. She was a lovely lady as well.
Yeah.
And Gavinor's like, I'm going to kill those monsters one day. And I'm like, yes.
That kid's gonna have
Go
issues.
for it, Gavinor. He already has issues.
He already has issues.
The poor kid went through a very traumatic experience at a very young age. And
Yeah.
if he wasn't affected by that, I would have been shocked.
And he's gonna be king one day.
Well-
Or actually, will he?
No, because Yasna's now in charge.
Yeah, so
it
I guess-
depends whether...
If Yasna has a kid, which I, to be quite honest, doubt she will, but she might
Yeah,
do. But
no.
she'll probably just elect to have Gavinor take over.
Well, I think that she's going to get rid of the monarchy altogether.
Ooh,
I
you
think
reckon
that
she's
she's
gonna
gonna
Ellen
make-
this place up.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, she's going to venture this
she's
place.
gonna venture this place.
Oh,
Did you just remember Ellen?
why would you do this to me? I'm here trying to talk about sexy Rhaenyra and you remind me of sexy Ellen. So then after putting Gavinor to bed and he's
Yeah.
like, wow, that kid's gonna grow up functional. He goes to catch up with Rhaenyra because Rhaenyra wanted to talk
Yes.
to him earlier.
One of my favourite scenes of the book. I love this little chat between Dalinar and Aaron.
Same, because it's got Rhaenyra. So he goes over to the Bridge 4 campfire because, of course, they've got the little campfire going. He's like, hey, Rhaenyra. And Rhaenyra's like, Daddy, you're finally acknowledging me. And Dalinar's like, yeah, I'll give you 5 minutes of my attention.
I like this scene because I feel like this was a good contrast to the scene with Adolin and Dalinar earlier, where Adolin is like cold, like furious, but like has to keep it down, and is like there's like a lot unsaid, and then Rhaenyra's kind of like far more expressive of his emotions.
Rhaenyra kind of already assumed that Dalinar was responsible.
Yeah.
And Rhaenyra is very understanding of the fact that Dalinar was in a dark place. Mm-hmm. And he is more forgiving than Adolin is.
Yeah.
Adolin is still bottling his emotions. And I am waiting for that volcano to erupt.
Oh, yeah.
Because I am here for that.
Yeah.
But Rhaenyra has sort of decided to forgive Dalinar. And is just sort of letting it go.
Yeah.
So then he takes Dalinar out to talk privately. And he's like, hey, having my visions.
Yeah.
And Dalinar's like, okay, what was it this time? And Rhaenyra's like, I can't really describe it, but I can show you.
Yes.
He's now got the ability where he can replay visions.
Yes.
So
It's his Void Knight power of
Shadow Knight's Radiance.
This is Void Knight Radiant.
Shadow Knight's Radiance.
Of like this will be his light weaving version of that, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very hot.
Yeah.
So then he recreates the vision that he had during the day. And then as he's walking his way through it, he talks to Dalinar about what he's seeing.
Yeah.
And then Dalinar's like, interesting. So it's a lot of weird stuff to do with Odeon.
I can't remember a single thing of this vision. I remember it being important.
I can remember it being important and complex.
Yes.
So Dalinar's like, yes, leave that with me and I'll think about it.
Yeah.
I remember that sort of being the outcome of it.
Yeah.
And then Rhaenyra says that Gliss has been in contact with some more corrupted Spren.
Yes.
And they really want to bond. And Dalinar's like, nah, mate, I can't trust the Unmade. And Rhaenyra's like, well, you can trust me.
Yes.
And they're going to be like me. And Dalinar eventually agrees to let Rhaenyra form his Shadow Knights Radiant.
Yeah.
And if I'm not one of those, I'm going to be so upset.
It's happening.
I'm going to go and join him.
You're going to go join him.
It's going to be good. Yeah, sexy Rhaenyra. Why is there not more Rhaenyra?
He's going to get his own book, Lucy.
Yeah, but that's like 8 books away.
I know, and that's like...
And until then, Brandon seems to be putting as little Rhaenyra in the books as possible.
I mean, he actually spoke about this on Reddit, where he said that because he kind of struggled with the flashbacks in this book because we'd explored Venli and Eshenai so much in the previous... Words of Radiance.
I get that.
And so he's like intentionally holding off on like Yasna and Rhaenyra.
I get that.
Because he needs to explore.
But I've already had quite a bit of Yasna. I can tell you things about Yasna.
Yeah.
Can't really tell you anything about Rhaenyra because there's so little Rhaenyra and he's the most interesting one and I need more Rhaenyra.
Okay, cool.
Mostly for the fan art.
For the fan art.
Anyone want to draw fan art, I wouldn't be against it.
If he just wants Rhaenyra fan art,
I just want Rhaenyra.
Yeah. Then we switch back to Kaladin, and Kaladin is like worried about leaving Teft alone in their like dark room because he's like horrified that if anything happened to him, Teft would just die alone in this pitch black room locked away, never to be found.
He's also not sure that once he's left, he'd be able to get back in.
Yes.
Because he's not sure how this weird room works.
Yeah. And then, but then David finds him, and he's like, yay, David. I like David.
I love Dobby.
Oh my god, you can't call him Dobby. He's not a house elf.
He is though.
He's not. Oh my god, you can't say that. So David arrives and is all like, Kaladin's like, yes, I can help. Like, I can now go and like feel like that's one weight off my shoulders. I can kind of rely on David to look after the Teft while I'm out. So he waits for night, then he sneaks down the side of the building using like handholds.
He's like infused.
Yeah, he like because
lashing stormlight things.
Yeah, he can only use his sticky surge. He can't use his gravitational surge. Yeah,
sticky.
It's his sticky surge. And because it's Honor's truest surge, whatever that means. And like so, yeah, he like climbs down.
That does get explained.
Oh, okay. Look, this book raises some questions. And
yeah, but I don't do that whole side of things.
You don't do that whole side of things, but I do. And so he climbs down the building, and he has a good time doing that, but he only gets like 3 floors down, and it's like this, it's like the sun's coming up because it's been taking me so long. But he sees that the oath gates are functioning on void light instead of stormlight, which is cool. And he can't see who's operating them, but he is like, cool, I can see how those people down there are using span reads, as they're like the people like writing down to them. They're using span reads, they have working span reads, and so he's like, cool, if I can't get any more information on the oath gate, what I can do is get to those span reads. And so he then follows those people, nicks some span reads.
They're crabs, but they're not people.
Sorry, the crab people. He follows the crab people, nicks some span reads, and then heads back up to the tower. And he's like, that was a pretty productive evening.
Yeah.
Yes, it was, Kaladin.
So then we cut to Venli, who is in a meeting with Raboniel and some more of the important fused. And they are currently trying to work out where the nodes for the tower would be.
Yes.
And they theorize that one must be on the outside of the tower, so it can be renewed by the storm when it passes by underneath.
Yeah.
So that's where they're going to begin their search.
So they're going to start looking on the outside of the tower.
Yeah. And whilst she's then inspecting I think she goes to inspect the radiance.
Yeah.
I think. She encounters...
Venli or Raboniel.
Venli.
Yeah.
I think she goes to inspect the radiance. Either way, she's kind of walking through the tower. And she's approached by one of the fused. And they're like, hey, you must be excited to know you're not the only one anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, yo, what do you mean? And he's like, they found one of the listeners hiding amongst the humans.
Yes.
And she's like, lol, what?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we've got one of your listeners. He's currently being held in the cells.
Yeah.
So she heads off to go and find Rlain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was such like a nice little heart skip to beat moment when you're kind of like, oh, they can be,
Yeah.
They
He can
be
join
friends.
her crew, and they can escape and make their crab people society like I want them to.
Yes.
Yay.
And then next, after that, we get like, it's a pretty short flashback. Eshenai just talks to Gavilar. They have like a little chat about like things. And then we get Venli going out in the storm and she breaks that gem. And it's not a form in there or a Spren for a form. It's, God, what's his name? Yixley? It's the Void Spren that they talk to. I can't remember if it's Yixley or if it's the other Void Spren, because we have two Void Spren names, Yixley and the other one. And it's
The other one.
The other one, and it's
What a
one
good
of them.
name. I imagine Brandon took a long time to come up with that one.
Yeah. One of them's friends with Venli, and the other one is friends with, led Cal's group of singers at the beginning of Oathbringer. I can never remember which one the name is. So I'm just going to say Yixley or not Yixley. One of them. There you go.
Yes.
Moving on to what happens next is we get Kaladin. The tower's like, oh, they found my gem on the outside. It's here. You got to go and save me. And so Kaladin rushes to go save. He's like, he tries to stealth it a little bit, but then he just kind of gives up and just starts fighting people. He gets there. He has to fight the Pursuer, who is quickly becoming a very, very big threat, it seemed, to becoming a little kitten of a threat, as he still keeps losing to Kaladin. And
Doesn't technically lose.
he doesn't technically lose, but Kaladin he's definitely not on the level Kaladin is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Kaladin's losing power by the day.
I mean, yeah, Kaladin's losing power, but Kaladin does force him to retreat. Raboniel's taking over the tower still by infusing it with void light. So Kaladin has to break the node, which Raboniel's like, yeah, that's fine. That also weakens the shield. So, like, that's no problem to me. I just wanted you to get you out of hiding. And then the Pursuer turns up and he's like, they fight a bit more. Raboniel just straight up tells him to run. So he does, and he manages to get... This is where he traps the Pursuer in a room, I believe. He, like, opens a door, waits in the room.
Yeah.
Pursuer, like, appears, he jumps out of the room, closes the door, and then, like... Then Kaladin runs off. And he's even weaker than he was before, and he was already pretty weak. Yeah. And then we have a chapter which it's like a chapter 2. I can't remember if it's one long chapter or if it's 2. I really liked this chapter.
Yeah.
This is where Venli goes to the prison that they keep people in Urithiru. Rlain is there. They have like a talk. Is this where, does she tell him she doesn't tell him her role in the Desolations, does she?
She's worried he's going to judge her for her role in the Desolation.
Understandable.
And then upon seeing him again, she realizes that he hasn't got a clue what she did during the Desolation.
Yes.
And so she's got a chance to start afresh with him.
Yeah. So they have a really nice catch up. Like, it's really nice to be able to. Well, it's really nice. They're both really happy to see each other, but there's also a huge tension between them, which I like because Venli's feeling it, and like, you know, she's happy. She's happy that there's another one. And before we leave the prison, because then she leaves the prison to go hang out with Raboniel. Before we leave the prison, the guard at the prison is a regal in a form called Diaform. And we are told nothing about Diaform.
I imagine it's quite dire.
This is dire for me. Every single question I'm going to ask Brandon after this book has come out is going to be about Diaform. Because I'm so annoyed, because regals are one of the things I'm really excited about. Because we found out loads of regal forms of power in the Songs and Words of Radiance. Diaform isn't one of them. And then in this book we see a Diaform, and they've got like a couple of spikes on them. But what? What a Diaform is?
I imagine it's like a dire wolf.
You reckon it's a Direwolf? You reckon it's just a big form? Yeah. It's just a big form. They're just big.
Big and fluffy.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, literally all my questions. I've got like 4 questions. Well, I mean, it's just like what, when, where, how. That's what I want to know about the Diaforms. Just
Yeah.
Anything. Just give me diaform information.
Just that.
I'm thirsting for it. Anyways, then we leave the jail. And Raboniel is having a meeting with Mraise. And Raboniel's like, hey, guy, why should I bargain with you? And Mraise is like, because you are interested in what I have for you. And she's like, why? What do you have? And she's like, here's a Knight Radiant who's powered by Lifelight?
Yeah. Given to her by the
cultivation. So apparently, cultivation didn't just say, hey, you can create Stormlight by eating. She's like, no, you use my power, Lifelight.
Yeah.
Cultivation's investiture. What is Lift? What on earth is Lift?
Well, she doesn't use Stormlight like we thought.
I never noticed. So Lift obviously gets. She doesn't get Stormlight from eating. She gets Lifelight from eating. She gets power from eating. I kind of assumed she also was able to draw in Stormlight from spheres. No, she uses Lifelight as a radiant.
Well, we didn't know Lifelight was a thing.
Yeah.
So it's always been assumed that when she eats food, it's generating Stormlight.
Yeah. It's not.
Lifelight.
It's Lifelight.
Obviously. It's so obvious. How did nobody pick up on this?
Oh my god. So there's that. This also confirms something for me. I didn't even realize until very recently that it was up for debate about whether cultivation gave Windle to Lift. Because I always assumed when she went and asked for her, say, hey, I don't want to change anymore. And cultivation was like, no, I'm not actually going to grant that power. But she kind of connected her with Windle.
Yeah.
And that was kind of, she became a Knight Radiant after that meeting. Apparently, that wasn't accepted. I assumed that was accepted. But apparently that was actually up for debate about whether Windle came later after that meeting.
Oh.
But now I'm like, no, at this point, cultivation must have done that because she created that whole Lifelight Radiant thing. So yeah, other things are happening in this chapter, but yeah, that's the thing. Oh, then she says to Raboniel after they leave, she's like, hey, can I have Rlain? I want Rlain because
for reasons.
For like reasons. And so she asks for Rlain to be put into her care, which Raboniel agrees with after a little bit convincing. And then she Venli then leaves and is like, cool, I freed Rlain, and tries to swear an oath about freeing people in cages. Yeah. But it's rejected. It's rejected. This is what I wanted. I wanted Venli to have to fucking work for her redemption. And so her trying to swear an oath and failing is what I wanted. It's exactly what I wanted.
Well, it was rejected because she's just seen someone in a cage and she just left them.
And like she's not, because she didn't try and save Lift. She tried to save Rlain for basically selfish purposes of I want my friend back, or I want someone to talk to.
After Rlain told her to stop being so selfish.
After Rlain just literally told her to stop being so selfish. So she's like, she tries to swear an oath and it's rejected, and I love that. That's what I wanted. I really like this. This bit was good.
She's now coming up with a plot to save Lift.
So then she comes up with a plot to save Lift.
I'm excited for that to happen.
This chapter was great. This is like...
because Lift will join Kaladin and the rest of the Crab People Society.
Yes. Okay, so after all that, we then get a Navani chapter. And this is the chapter where they realise they can use the Spanreed Void Spanreeds?
Yeah.
And they can use these Void Spanreeds to use the hand elevator, the arm dislocator.
Yeah.
To use that. So Navani and Cal.
Arm dislocator.
And so Navani and Cal, they come up with a plan to get it to him using some ardents. Goes off pretty without a hitch, to be honest.
Yeah.
Get it to him. Then they have a conversation where Raboniel's like, hey, I know you're just messing me about. Stop messing me about. Let's actually work together and let's do some light. Let's have some light experiments. Raboniel thinks that Stormlight and Voidlight are complete opposites, and would destroy each other if they touched. And Navani's like, no.
You've got to make mayonnaise.
You've got to make mayonnaise. Because you got water and oil, and it's
You've
like
got to emulsify it.
you got to emulsify it. You got to get
Like
some egg in
mayonnaise.
there, you know. Yeah. And you
No,
gotta
no, no. Mayonnaise is egg and oil, and you've got to emulsify it to mix it.
Oh, what's the emulsifier in it? In mayonnaise.
Egg and oil.
No. Egg and oil are the things being mixed, but she's saying you need a third component to mix them together so that they actually mix.
I'm sure it's just whisking it really fucking fast.
I think you've misunderstood the chemistry of this scene, Lucy.
I think I know how mayonnaise works.
Okay, so you're going to look it up. She's looking up mayonnaise. So they basically talk about how Navani's like, no, you need an emulsifier to mix these two things together. But like, what is an emulsifier for Stormlight? And like, what's an investiture?
Basic mayonnaise.
Basic mayonnaise. Give us the recipe of basic mayonnaise.
Right. Basic mayonnaise. Egg yolk, oil.
Yep.
And you can add lemon juice for flavouring.
Okay. So it's not, there is no emulsifier in there. They just mix.
It's you emulsify them though.
Is this like a cooking term you're using?
Yes.
Okay, in chemistry, an emulsifier is something that allows two things to mix that don't normally mix. For example, water and oil don't mix because they don't mix. But you need an emulsifier to allow them to mix to make a single substance. Because it acts as a bonding agent. Which, yes, I think mayonnaise might actually work as an emulsifier in water and oil. We don't know anything about chemistry here in the this household. And so I hope you enjoyed us being wrong about things.
If you have a mayonnaise recipe, please include it below.
Tell us your favourite mayonnaise emulsifier. Cool. And then very quickly, we then go back to an Eshenai flashback. So Eshenai walks in on Venli trying to convince the elders that she's found war form in gems. And she traps it in gems because she learned that from the humans. And she wants to give this new form to the people. Elders are worried that this is a form of power because, you know, they're worried about taking new forms of power because that's what they ran away from. And Eshenai is kind of on their side. But then they go home to their mum. She's very clearly starting to really badly lose her memory. And so...
Well, they find her wandering in the streets.
That's it. They just find her wondering about how she got there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Venli manages to convince Eshenai to try it because she says, hey, we might be able to find a form which will help our mother, like help heal our mother. Like these forms are more powerful. Might heal her. I was confused by this because they have the 5. They have their Council of 5, right? They had this in Words of Radiance. And so I thought the 5 was supposed to...
They are.
supposed to be the 5 forms.
Don't worry about it. Don't question it.
But then in this flashback, they still have the 5.
Don't question it.
But then they're all just work form.
Don't question it.
But like, why is there 5?
Have mate and doll form.
Like, oh yeah, they'll have mate and dull. They'll have mate, dull, and work. So surely the 5 would be the 3, because like.
Look, don't worry about it.
I assume this was a cultural leftover of the 9, which were the 9 fused forms. And so it's like, why is there the Council of 5? So then we get we switch back to Cal, and he's having nightmares, because it's like all of his friends dying and stuff. Yeah. But then David like wakes him up, and he's like, "I've got your glove," but he doesn't actually say that because David doesn't say anything. And oh God. And he experiments with it, and Syl laughs at him as he experiments with it because it's really, really clunky.
I imagine it's like when you watch like an old Superman movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine it's like that.
Yeah.
Which I'm so up for.
Yes.
And then we get Yasna at war. Yasna's like, hey, I can kill more people. Mm-hmm. Yes.
She's like, I could not go to war, or I could go to war and kill people.
Well, I've got to see what it's like, because I can't send people to war if I haven't joined in the fun myself.
Yep.
she's got shard plates.
Yeah.
Because she's a high enough ideal that she has shard plates.
Yeah.
So she is, she's dulled the light down so that she doesn't stand out.
Yeah. And she's not allowed to use her powers.
cool.
Yeah.
She's allowed to, she's choosing not to.
So that's what I mean. Like, she's not allowing herself to use her powers because
Yeah,
she doesn't want to
she-
give herself away.
Yeah, she wants to just look like any other shard bearer on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't want people to know that she's the queen and
Yeah.
obviously
Target
aim
her.
for her.
Yeah.
So she's out on the battlefield, having a good old time.
Yeah.
She's using Stormlight to heal herself,
Yeah.
and
That's it.
that's it. She realizes it's been like a whole day of fighting,
Yeah.
and she's tired, but like she wants to keep going.
Yeah.
And the edge dancers like pull her back, and they're like, "You're more trouble
Yeah.
in this position because you're tired,
Yeah.
and you are beginning to kill. Like people are dying to try and keep you alive.
Yes.
Like
you're
you're a hindrance at this point.
Yeah.
Go to bed."
Yeah.
So she reluctantly leaves the battlefield and she goes and Wit's there waiting for her
Yeah.
with some food.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, you did good out there." And she's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go back out in a minute." And he's like, "You should really rest."
Yeah.
And she's like, "I've rested enough." And then she goes back out.
Yeah.
And then the battle's over. And throughout the battle, Wit kept visiting her on the battlefield to
Yeah.
replenish her.
Yeah.
Cute.
Give us some support, you know.
Good little Wit.
Good little wit.
Good hoity.
Yeah.
So then the battle's over, and she kind of realizes that killing people isn't as much fun as it should be.
I don't think that's quite the lesson she takes from this.
Look, the lesson.
This is the lesson.
Killing people isn't as fun when you're doing it over and over again.
Yes.
She ended up using her powers in the end because she was tiring, and she was like, "I just want this fight to be over."
Yeah.
So she did start using her powers on the battlefield. And they were cool.
They were.
I love her powers.
Yes.
So then the battle's over, and she can't face going into the war tent just yet. Like,
Yeah. She's exhausted. She's
well, I think the realization of what being in a big battlefield has, like, it hits her.
yeah, she needs a moment to process, like,
Yeah.
war
So
is hot.
she's sitting outside the war tent, just tired.
Just tired and like.
Is it the mink that joins her?
I think it's the mink that joins her at this point.
Yeah, and the mink goes over and has a little chat with her, and like he tells the others just to
Leave her be.
that she's fine. He's seen her. She's all good, but give her space.
Yeah.
And that was Yasna at war.
Yeah. This is the one that ends with Wit being like, "I need to come talk to you."
Yes.
Yes. And then Wit ends by going, "Hey, I need to talk to you."
She goes back to her tent,
Yeah.
and Wit's there because apparently he shares a tent with her. There is no truth to these rumours. They are just friends, and people are just getting ahead of themselves. They are just friends. And Wit is writing the letters that he's constantly writing.
Yes.
Wonder who those letters are going to, and if we've read them yet.
Yeah.
I think we've read some. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think there's more to come.
I was going to say, I feel like this is, at this point, the letters we've seen have all been sent and returned. Like,
Yeah. So he's writing this book's letters. I'm hoping they come up soon.
You've already read this book's letters.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, the reply from Sazed, which had whimsy and stuff in it and stuff.
Oh, Whimsy!
Yes.
I forgot about Whimsy.
Ow!
How?
Yeah.
There's more letters though.
Oh, I'm sure there is more letters, but not in this book. Like, we normally only get like one letter per book. It was only in Oathbringer we got like 3, which was like a big deal.
I want more letters, please.
Oh, yes.
I enjoy Hoyd's letters.
Same.
So yeah, that was Yasna at war.
I have a lot to say about this chapter.
Good, go for it.
I really like this chapter.
Yes.
For several reasons. Firstly, it's Yasna, and that's obviously put it to the top of the list of favourite
course.
chapters. Yes. Second,
Second top.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Renarin's
Secondly, Ivory finally got to like shine in this chapter.
Yes.
There's so little
I'm
Ivory.
sorry.
Yeah. And his way of speaking has always been like dry. He states facts.
Yeah.
Like he says, that is, this is, that goes. Like that's it. So that as dry wit of sarcasm is hilarious.
Yes.
Loved Ivory this chapter.
He got a personality.
He finally got a personality more than just a fact spouting machine.
Yeah.
Secondly, thirdly? That's thirdly. Thirdly, Yasna sucks at fighting.
Yeah.
I liked this detail because people sometimes accuse Yasna of being perfect and not having any flaws, and I'm like, no, she's great at like the things she's trained in, but she's not a warrior and she sucks at it.
Yeah.
Like she's still a shard bearer, so she's a monster on the battlefield. But like she comes across one of those fused, and this is my fourth favorite thing, is we finally get to see those carapace growy fused.
Yeah.
Really in action, and really what you can do, and you see how they use their powers to like negate the shard plate and shard blade that the radiant scare, and it's like, oh yeah, sure, we saw them like turning their carapace into swords and stuff in Oathbringer, but in this we get to see them utilizing that in combat, and I'm like, oh, these guys are really hard to kill for Radiance, and I liked that. I really like that. And also I'm convinced they use regrowth. There's always been up for debate about what they use. Convinced they use regrowth. And so yeah, so we get those 5 things. Is there anything else? Oh, I just liked Wit being Wit. I liked that conversation between Yasna and Mink about the horrors of war, and it's like, yeah, this is, you need to know like how horrible it is for those people out on the ground. But it's not fun. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's a good chapter.
It's a very, very good chapter. I'm so happy with it. And like, I feel like sometimes I felt like there wasn't enough war in this Rhythm of War book. And then I'm like, the little bits we get I really like them.
Well, I assume that there's going to be war in part 4 or 5, and I'm just not there yet.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I mean, there's still bits.
Thanks.
There's still bits.
So then we go back to Navani.
Yep.
Who is in... She's no longer allowed to talk to the Ardents directly. Everything has to be written down and passed along. She's putting, like, pretend codes in the writing for the Fuse to decipher because she knows they're expecting it.
Yeah.
And her and Raboniel were having another talk about light and the 3 types of light on Roshar.
Yep, because there's also life light as well.
And then she provides Navani with some life light to experiment with.
Yeah.
So now Navani can do that.
Yeah.
I wonder where she got the life light from. Can't possibly think of...
She did say it was incredibly hard to get.
It's because they didn't have anyone with it. She now has someone with
Oh, okay. Oh, you think she got it from Lift?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Well, when she was last talking about life light,
Yeah.
she didn't have Lift.
Oh, okay. Now okay, got you.
Yeah.
I figured she got it from somewhere else, and like Lift wasn't the source of it. But
Oh no, Lift is the source.
Okay.
She is feeding Lift up in a cage,
Yeah.
and then like draining the light, and then like feeding her up again. So then, there's always been this sort of like unhinged Fused watching Navani,
yeah,
and Navani is like, and the Fused is with her in the room. And Raboniel reveals that it's her daughter.
yeah,
Obviously, over the years of coming back, it's affected her and she's lost
her mind.
her mind.
Yeah,
And it seems like what Raboniel's trying to do is, like, restore her.
yeah,
So I think that's why she wants Stormlight. Because obviously Stormlight can be used to heal.
yes.
Whereas I don't think the Voidlight can.
Voidlight can be used. So we see the a couple of times we see Fused heal using the Voidlight.
Yeah.
But it's Stormlight and Voidlight healing generally heals physical wounds.
Yeah.
It generally doesn't heal mental illnesses and issues.
No. But I think she's kind of hoping that by combining them,
She can.
she can.
Yeah.
Which I think is why she's doing these experiments. And obviously she's got life light as well to throw into the mix just in case.
Yeah, because they know Lifelight and Stormlight can mix because you've got the Tower Light.
Yeah.
And this book introduces lots of new lights.
Yes.
At this point, like, I'm just... Yeah. So they know that the Lifelight and the Stormlight can mix. So if Navani she can find out how to mix them to create Tower Light, then she can then use that process to potentially create the Stormlight Voidlight mix.
Yeah.
Yeah. We then get a short Dalinar chapter where he plays with his powers and he tries to do the the web stringy thing again by like touching a soldier and like concentrating, and he's able to see like the lines that connect the soldier to the things around him, which is very cool. I'm very, very happy with where this Dalinar stuff is going, and I look forward to seeing what more you can do when you can if with this web of things.
Yeah.
Like, what happens if I get all of your connection to all people you know and I just like give it to someone else? Like, would the person I gave it to suddenly know all the people you know and be friendly with them, and would they also suddenly like... I'm excited to see the implications of Dalinar's powers, and also they're terrifying. This is a lot of power. This is a lot of power.
Well, we already know that.
Yes.
And he's able to heal Stormlight and stuff, so we know a bondsmith is different.
We know a bondsmith is different, and they're big powers they are.
So then Raboniel's busy doing something. So Venli's like, I can take some time to practice my Stormlight.
Yes.
And she's like, where in the tower is not currently being looked at? The 8th floor. We like the 8th floor. I wonder what else is on the 8th floor.
Yeah.
So she goes to the 8th floor to practice with her Stormlight.
Yeah.
So she sucks in some Stormlight, and the stones start talking to her.
I am so excited to find out more about these powers.
Yeah, and she realizes it's like the old rhythms of Roshar that she's tuning into. And they're like, yay, finally, you're back. And she's like, I didn't know I could do this. And they're like, things have changed slightly.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because we can talk to you again.
Yes.
And
they kind of like show things happening in the past that it's like...
yeah.
Yeah.
And she plays with the stone and she makes it squishy and she makes it all liquidy.
Yeah.
And she realizes that she can like transform it.
Yeah.
And while she's doing that, she attracts some more light spren.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, let us bond with your friends. And she's like, no.
Like, no one else can know what we've done. Like, no.
And Timber tells her that she's their anchor to the physical realm.
Yes.
And she's like, well, I can't have them following me around.
Yeah, because there's other Spren following people around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, can you just tell them to come back in a few weeks?
Yeah.
Cute. It's a lovely scene.
We then get a Eshenai flashback where she takes 12 of her best like soldiers out with some gems with warform in them. They take warform, and like just as they're getting used to their bodies, which are insanely strong compared to what they're used to, they're like running and jumping, and they're just having a great time.
Playing.
And then they realize that there's a family has come to attack their family.
They hear the war drums.
Because the way that Singer families work is they fight, but they don't really fight when they fight. They just kind of throw spears at each other. Maybe one or two people will get injured, but it's generally more of a back off kind of thing. Like, we're coming to you, you back off, or we've come to you and you're stronger than us, so we're going to back off. But then when the warforms turn up and Eshenai has gone to the family shard bearer and gotten a shard, which I believe they've said they normally never use their shards against each other. They only use them on Khazafim hunts. But she's like, no, I am this glorious vitally body right now. Give me this shard and we will intimidate. Oh, we're going to intimidate them? We're going to intimidate the living hell out of them.
Well, Venli tells her to.
Oh, does Venli tell her to?
Yes.
Okay, Venli tells her, like, they get the shards and they turn up to the fight and they're like, we are stopping this now. No families will fight again. We have to unite against humans because they are the real threat. And yeah.
And if you join our family, we
Yes.
will give you war forms.
Yes, and if you join our family, we will give you this power that you see, this resplendent body you see before you. You can have it as well. Then we switch back to Navani after that flashback, and she's experimenting with the light. She's using the tuning forks that the Thalin told her about to move light to and from gems. She tries to mix them in a single gem.
I was going to say each type of light has a different tune
Yes.
that it responds to.
Yep, has a different tone.
Yes.
Yes.
So there's 3 tones.
So there's 3 tones, as well as the tone of Roshar as well, don't forget. So each light has a tone that goes with it. And so she uses the tuning forks which it responds to, and then she moves things between gems, but it's like she tries to move Stormlight into a gem. She moves Stormlight into a gem, and then she tries to move Voidlight in, bounces off. She tries to put them in together, they won't go in together, or the one that she touches momentarily.
They kind of like swirl around each other.
They're kind of like, that's when she tries to cross the streams. She then does a crossing the streams thing, and they just kind of swirl around. Yeah, she literally does. She tries crossing the streams, and they just kind of swirl around each other, and then just keep going. She tries to put she has like a stream going, and then she tries to put a gem in the middle of the stream. She does. This was very good scientific method. I liked it. She did lots of experiments.
Well, what's interesting is because they swirled around each other.
Yeah.
She now knows that they don't repel each other, so they're not direct opposites.
Exactly. So she's trying to use that to convince Raboniel, but Raboniel isn't quite convinced by that.
Yeah.
She's experimenting. She has another chat with the tower where she tries to convince the tower to bond Rlain, because the tower's like, I'm never going to bond a human again. She's like, okay, bond a singer then. Like we have one on our side. Like you bond Rlain. Yeah, and they're having that conversation, and then I can't remember. Does she work it out? No, the tower tells her that they found the second node.
The tower tells her that. Because Navani's like, right, just tell me where the nodes are, so that I can send Kaladin to cover them with creme.
Yes.
So that they're harder to get to. You know, let us help you protect them. And she's like, I'll tell you where one is, but not the last one.
Yeah.
And she tells Navani that it's in the fountain.
Yeah.
And then literally 2 minutes later, she's like, they found it.
It's like, oh no, I wonder what that means.
Oh no.
So then they have to send Cal after to the fountain. Well, it's the well. It's not a fountain. It's a well.
The well. The well of Ascension.
Oh my god, it's more like the well of descension because it goes down. Yeah.
I miss Finn.
I know. I miss Finn too.
So then Kaladin is having another nightmare. Thanks, Moash. And he wakes up and Syl's sat on the floor in front of him. And he's like, what's going on? He's like, Syl's like, the tower's under attack again. They found a node. It's in the middle of a well, in the middle of the marketplace.
Yeah.
They're attacking now.
Yeah.
And he's like, where's my spear? Where's my glove?
He's like, we couldn't wake you, so...
Yeah, we couldn't wake you, so Dobby's gone.
Yeah.
So then he runs down and he catches Dobby in the stairwell.
He's shaking, but he's got it all with him. And
he's got it, and Kaladin's like, you can't fight, give it to me, I'll go, you just go back and look after Tef.
Yeah.
And then Dobby's like, life before death.
Yeah.
He talks for the first time.
It's
since
so cute.
book 1.
Yeah.
And, it's such a lovely moment.
Yeah, it's so nice.
Sweet.
It's so sweet because he's like, I think Cal finds him and he hasn't got that far. He literally got to he just stopped and he's shaking and it's like,
and it's like he can't bring himself to go and fight, but he'll do it to try and save the tower.
Yeah.
And
this was I love David in this moment. This is
I love him in general.
I was quite happy with this, he's just a little helper guy, and then this moment is no, David is Bridge 4. David is Bridge 4.
He is Bridge 4. He's always been Bridge 4.
Yeah.
And he's such a good boy.
He's such a good boy.
I love him. And it's so sweet. And he does the Bridge 4 salute and Kaladin does it back.
Yeah.
And he dismisses Dobby so that he can go and look after Tef and he doesn't have to go and join the fighting again.
Yeah.
So they're both quite happy.
The situation's...
Yeah. He's talking.
Yeah.
But obviously I don't want to draw too much attention to it because I don't want to...
You don't want to scare him, back into silence.
So cute.
Yeah.
So then he uses the glove to get down to the well quickly.
Yes.
He gets down there. And it's a trap.
Yeah.
All of the fused are there.
Yeah.
The pursuer's there.
Yeah.
He fights the pursuer. He kills 3 of the pursuer's bodies. And he's like, great. That's put a hold on him for a while. I don't have to worry about him.
Yeah.
And then he sees Leshwi up in the air. So he challenges her.
Because he knows if he challenges Leshwi, she'll fight him one-on-one. And then
And she's like, you haven't got long. The pursuer's going to be back. And he was like, yep. I'm using you to try and hold him off.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, can't hold him off forever.
Yeah.
You're weak. This battle's not going to last long. And he was like, we're just going to have to stretch it out.
Let's just do what we can.
So they're fighting.
And she can clearly see he's not actually lashing, he's using his glove.
Yeah.
She's like, what are you even doing here?
And he's like, look, I need to...
Yeah.
Whilst he's doing this, he sent Syl to go and try and spot the node because his plan is to break free quickly and destroy the node before they've really had a chance to work out what he's doing.
Yeah.
So Syl signals that she's ready. And he's like, hey, Leshwi, I'm clearly not doing well in the air.
Yeah.
Can we take this to the ground?
Yeah.
And so she's like, yeah, okay. And then he's like, look, just so you know, I'm not betraying you here.
Yeah.
It was an option. I didn't say we had to. And because he wants to be quite clear that he's not trying to deceive her.
Yes.
And it's a really cute relationship they've got.
It's a very interesting relationship.
I love them. I want them to be together.
Yeah.
And then he flies off into the well. He breaks the node.
Yeah.
But during the fight,
yeah.
Raboniel cut him across the chest.
Yeah.
His Stormlight had already started slowing down.
Yeah, and this time
now that he's destroyed the node, it's pretty much gone.
Well, it's before he destroyed the node, Raboniel was able to corrupt it just a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then he destroyed the node, and it was the corruption that's like, it's just not healing him anymore. Well, it is like so slow.
Yeah. So then him and Syl start flying back out of the well, and he's like, I'm just going to have to deal with what's coming.
Yeah.
But just after Syl got out, they put a lid on the well.
Yeah.
And he's using people to create a weight, knowing that Kaladin isn't strong enough to open it. Because the pursuer's plan is just to drown Kaladin.
Pretty much.
It's the easiest way to kill him, because he can't survive in a well forever.
Yeah.
Kaladin starts panicking and releasing all of his Stormlight.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, stop panicking.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to die. And he realises that the well must have a reservoir. So he uses the glove to propel himself down to the bottom.
Yeah.
And out. And the whole time that he's doing this, he's so close to death.
Yeah.
And
he is drowning. He's drowning. Yeah.
Well, he can feel the pressure in his body.
Yeah.
He's not doing well.
No.
He finally gets into the reservoir, struggles to pull himself out of the water.
Yeah.
And then he's like, this was a trap.
Yeah.
They're going to know about this reservoir because there's still Stormlight in the lanterns. He uses that. He draws that in, but he can't really heal. And he's like, they're going to be here soon. So then he heads outside where they're in the middle of a high storm, and he holds onto a pillar and just hopes for the best.
Mm-hmm. We then switch back to Dalinar, and I can't remember how the conversation starts.
He's just chilling with Stormfather.
He's just chilling out with the Stormfather, and then he's like, can you show me the tower?
Dalinar asks him to kind of try and have a look as he's on his way past.
Yeah.
And he's like, why don't you just come with me?
Okay.
You can be the storm as well.
Yeah. We have that bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dalinar then becomes the storm.
Yes.
And
they get to Urithiru, and then he does the exact thing that the Stormfather said you can't do, which is he tries to stop the storm and look. And then I was like, Stormfather's like, what are you doing? And Dalinar sees a little itty Kaladin. He's hanging off the edge of the tower.
It's always this guy.
And he's like, God damn, always this guy. So what's with this dude? It's always this dude. And he just kind of goes, he just gets a little gust of wind, and he just goes, boop, and he just flicks him over the edge.
They talk.
Oh, no, they have a little conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's like, Kaladin, what are you doing? And Kaladin, because Kaladin is a mess. He's bleeding.
Yeah.
He's close to death. And Dalinar's like, what on earth is going on? And Kaladin's like, they attacked.
Yeah.
The tower's now under their control.
Yeah.
Navani's a prisoner. They've invaded.
Yes.
That's why the Oath Gates aren't working. That's why spam reads aren't working. And Dalinar's like, cool. Try and hold in there a bit longer.
Yeah.
So then he conveniently puts him on the 8th floor.
He just flicks him up and goes, on the 8th floor.
Always the 8th floor. He doesn't even know that Kaladin's staying on the 8th floor. But he knows that the 8th floor will be safe for him.
Yes. Well, I think he just literally just throws him up and he just happens to land there because, I don't know, he's the main character, which means he's tapping fortune all the time, you know.
I'm glad that there's currently a Radiant on the 8th floor.
Yes.
That is conveniently located to help him when he lands.
Yeah.
And then they can go and form their society
and
together.
then you want to go form their society together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this bit.
I really like this bit. It's a really sweet chapter.
Yeah. Dalinar's Stormfather. It's cool.
Well, Stormfather's now angry with him.
Yes, because he tried to stop the storm and he's like, it's the one thing I said you can't do.
He's like, you said you can't. You didn't say that I can't. So then the next chapter is Navani, who is sitting quietly in her room. She now knows that they've known this whole time.
Yeah, she realizes.
And she realizes that when she tried to distract Raboniel during that, they were expecting her to.
Yeah.
And they purposely, slowed her down. So Raboniel comes in and she's like, when did you find out? How did you find out? And she's like, the second I touched the crystal pillar, I knew the tower was still alive.
Yeah.
And I've just been listening into your conversations ever since.
Yeah.
Navani's like, cool. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
And she's like, just stop trying to fight against me and just join me.
Just join me.
And Navani hasn't really got many choices left now. She can't talk to the tower anymore.
Yeah.
They're now watching everything she does, and she now knows how closely they're watching her.
Yeah.
And she's kind of got no options left.
Yeah.
And she's like, is Kaladin okay? And Raboniel's like, well, I slashed his chest up pretty badly.
Yeah.
And his stormlight's not healing him anymore, so you tell me.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, great.
I think it's something we forgot to mention is a moment I really liked in this Navani-Raboniel relationship.
Yeah.
Is early on, they're like, Raboniel's trying to convince Navani to help her, work this light project out. And she looks over and there's the shield that's protecting the pillar.
Yeah.
And they've got a shard blade and they're trying to cut into the shield using the shard.
Yeah.
Yes, and Navani replies, well, if you're trying to get me to be on your side, try not waving my dead son's shard blade around in front of me. And Raboniel legitimately, mortified. She's like, I had no idea. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I forgot about that bit.
Yeah, that's me, is like...
So good.
It's Raboniel's one of my favourite, parts of this book, because she just absolutely is like... I don't know how to describe her. She's such a complex character.
Yeah.
She's legitimately I am trying to do the best I can.
Well, that's the thing. I can't work out with her if she's a bad guy or a good guy.
Just because you're a bad guy does not mean you're a bad guy.
Well, that's the thing, is that she's one of the ancient fused, and she's one of the top,
the
powerful ones.
Yeah.
No, she's not the toppest.
She's one of the top. Well, she used to be part of the 9, so she's super high up.
She's high up.
Yeah.
And yet, sometimes she gives off a vibe of wanting to create peace.
Yes.
And sometimes she gives off the vibe of just wanting to destroy everything.
Sometimes she's like, we need to sort this war out, and then other times she creates the coronavirus. And so it's kind of
it's hard to tell with her.
It's hard to tell with her, yeah.
And I really like that. I like that the singers are more complex than...
Bad guys. Yeah.
There's more to them.
Yeah.
So it's like Leshwi can't quite work out whose side she's on either.
Yeah.
And I like that. And
I almost feel like if when Venli and Leshwi are talking, I almost feel like I think Leslie would probably actually be on Venli's side if Venli said, hey, we want to go make our own thing. I think they say it early on.
She has.
Yeah.
And Leshwi said that she had petitioned for it. She'd try and make it happen.
She'd try and make it happen, yeah.
If she could.
But it's, yeah.
It's interesting.
Raboniel is just my favorite. I love Raboniel. She's my favorite.
I get it.
Yeah.
So that's the end of part.
Oh, well, that's the end of part 3. Didn't even realize we reached the end.
It's a really good part.
Yes.
I'm aware that you know more, and you know that other parts are better.
This is not what I was going to say. Okay, yes, the other parts are better. I found 3 probably one of the hardest to get through. Probably took me the longest to get through. Because
No comment.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah, I found part 3, for me, I would, I put the book down and I didn't feel the need to pick it back up. I did, obviously, because I have to read these books as quick as possible. But, there's some parts in part 3 where I was I could put it down and I was I could, take a break. I'm I don't know. I found part 3 and I think part 4, but not as much. I kind of struggled a little bit.
Oh.
But not really struggled, just for a random book.
I was going to say this is the first book that I've read in the Stormlight.
Yeah.
Where I could have happily read the whole thing in a week.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I obviously didn't.
Yeah.
It's taken me a while to get through this one.
That's because we're not in lockdown anymore.
But the rest of the books, there's always at least one part where it takes me a whole day to read a chapter, and I'm struggling to work my way through it.
Yeah.
This is the first book that it's just flowed really nicely.
Oh, okay.
And I found it really easy to read.
Interesting. That's such an interesting...
I really enjoyed it.
I found... Yeah, like I said, I found...
I can't understand the light stuff properly.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for the spicy comments below complaining about all of the inaccuracies.
Oh, man. I can't wait for the chemists to turn up and just scream. If you're a chemist and you were just screaming, let us know.
But I'm really enjoying reading about it.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that by the end of the book I will have learnt something.
I hope you will as well. I think the thing I wouldn't have noticed I wouldn't have noticed that I was slowing down with 3 and 4 as much if it wasn't for part 5, which I literally I think I read as close to one sitting as I possibly could, because part 5 is.
I'll get there one day.
You'll get there one day.
So I have a current theory about odium.
Oh, go on.
So you know how it's kind of a little theory that endowment's a dragon?
Yes.
I think odium is.
Really?
I've been thinking about it a lot since Oathbringer.
Yeah.
Because in Oathbringer, he appears to Dalinar as a human.
Yes, and he appears to the singers as a singer.
Yeah. So he can clearly choose what form to take.
Yes.
And I have a feeling that all of the shards are actually dragons.
Okay.
Or they're something, and
Yeah.
they just choose to look like humans.
I think it's well within a shard's power to appear as anything as they want.
Yeah. I like to think that they're just a load of ancient dragons.
Well, I mean, we know Leras and Ati weren't, because when they died, their human bodies dropped.
Or is that just what they want you to think?
Ah.
I don't know. I feel like odium is a different kind of creature.
Yeah.
Like, he might not necessarily be a dragon, but he's definitely...
You think he's something else?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't think that he's human. Like, I'm almost tempted to call him a Kandra or something.
Okay.
Like, I know he's not.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm going with here.
Yeah.
But his shape-shifting is really something.
I mean, for me, I always just interpreted that as he appears human to humans because he wants to... He's like trying to get you on his side. He's a manipulator. Yeah. He wants you to join him willingly.
But none of the other shards have shown shape-shifting abilities.
Well, that's because they're not going with the same kind of thing. And also, this is the first planet we've had with like multiple species where shards are appearing to multiple species.
No.
There's no reason for Leras or Ati to have appeared as weird crab people.
No. But I also think that he's a dragon because you know the art of humans arriving on Roshar?
Yes.
There's dragons around the edge.
There's a dragon and a lion, yeah.
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 I think that's odium.
Okay, interesting.
I think one of them is...
Oh, like Tanabas is the lion.
I think one of them is honor.
Yeah.
And one of them is odium.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that potentially odium's the lion because it's all golden and
Yeah.
he's obviously golden.
Yeah.
I can't remember what colour the dragon is and
I can't remember either.
And whether those colours are used to represent honour. But I have a feeling that he's one of the two.
Okay. I've never thought of those being there as that. I always interpret them as these are things we had on Ashen, and like so I'm just drawing them on there.
I assume they were the shards.
Okay. They were the shards fighting. That's interesting. I don't think
Yeah.
I've thought of that before. Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I'm currently going for. I just don't think that he's human
Yeah.
or crab.
Yes. So we forgot that we were doing interludes the other way around, but we're going to do interludes in this video as well. So we're going to do the 3 to 4 interlude now. So the first interlude is Szeth, and Szeth is watching Dalinar and Gavanor, just like Leobow, and he's just being him there. He kind of talks to his spren for a little bit, which is nice to finally get some of...
Nameless,
just the nameless spren that follows Szeth around. I wonder if this is what all high spren are like, or if...
I think this is what high spren are like.
They're like more adjudicators.
Yeah.
As opposed to like conversation.
Friends.
Yeah, friends. Yeah. And so he has a little conversation with him about his plans for Shinobar. And then he hears a little tidbit of information where Taravangian has requested some items because Dalinar's giving Taravangian some freedoms, and so he's let him request things like pen and paper. And then he's requested a stone with a vein of quartz in the middle, which is exactly like Zeth's oath stone that he used to hold.
It has alarm bells ringing for Zeth, because he's like, that's what people use as honor stones. Oath stones. Why does Taravangian want an oath stone?
And so, yeah.
I think he's going to use it to bind Dalinar.
Oh, okay. You think the oath stone is a magical device?
I don't think it's necessarily a magical device.
Yeah.
But I think if Taravangian finds a way to trap Dalinar to one, if he makes him, like, say, a bond to it.
You could trick him so he can control him.
Yes.
Interesting.
I think that's what he's going for.
Okay.
I don't know whether it's for good or bad.
Yeah.
It's probably for bad, because it's fucking Taravangian. But I think that he's trying to bond Dalinar to him so that Dalinar becomes his servant.
Yes.
Like Zeth used to be.
Okay.
So that's why I think he wants one.
Yes.
He was also talking to Nightblood for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, we do get a little bit of Nightblood in this.
It's quite a cute little conversation. Zeth talks about not trusting Gavinor. He's very suspicious of Gavinor.
Really?
Yeah, he can't understand how a child who's been through the trauma he's been through is now happy and smiley.
Like functioning, yeah.
And he's really distrustful of it.
Interesting.
I wonder if maybe we're foreshadowing for Gavinor to be a bit of a villain, which wouldn't surprise me.
Oh, man, do you know what? If the second half where Gavinor and Oridon are friends, but then, like, Gavinor becomes the villain and Oridon's like...
They're never going to be friends. There's too much of an age gap.
Oh my god, we literally married him with the exact same age gap that they have.
Ew. But there's something about it.
Yeah.
Like, I love Gavinor, but he's definitely a traumatized child.
Yeah.
And obviously, like all emotional problems, everyone's just sort of pretending they don't exist.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see him turning into the villain of, like, part 2 of
you reckon he's gonna
the Stormlight books.
Might not even have to wait that long. You reckon what if he's Odium's champion?
He's too young and inexperienced at this point. I think Odium will start working towards it.
Okay.
But I think right now Odium's eyes are on Kaladin.
Yes.
I don't think he's looking further than Kaladin.
Yeah, that was the other thing as well, because I think it looks like, from Moash's conversation, I'm pretty sure he's trying to get Kaladin to be his champion, right?
He is. Yeah. 100%. He's trying to break Kaladin to convert Kaladin to his side. And that's what he's currently working on.
Next interlude.
Cherry Cherry!
It's the Cherry Cherry interlude.
So Cherry Cherry is being Cherry Cherry.
Yeah.
And he's now too big to fit in his grass.
He's too big in the grass.
And he's got a little box with a cuddly blankie in it.
Yeah.
And he's like, this doesn't make noise like other things do.
Yeah.
And he's like, what are the two squishy things over there chatting about?
Yeah.
And he's like, they say such strange rhythms.
Yeah.
And then he goes and, like, climbs up Rizen's arm of her chair. And he's like, head scratches, please.
Of her floating chair.
Of her floating chair.
A floating chair.
Like, I needed to read Dawnshard first.
I read Dawnshard. Lucy hasn't read Dawnshard.
I needed to read it first because clearly stuff went down.
Stuff happened
And
in
they are-
Dawnshard.
They are currently discussing some Dawnshardian stuff, I imagine.
Well, I was going to say...
But because it's from Chiri Chiri's point of view,
He's
you
not really
don't really...
listening. Yeah.
He doesn't understand what they're saying, so you don't hear what's being said.
Yeah.
He's just sort of enjoying his head scratches.
Yeah.
And then the guy that Rizen was talking to leaves.
Still.
I don't know, because Chiri Chiri doesn't know his name.
Yeah.
And Rizen's like, right, come on, off to bed we go, Chiri Chiri.
Yeah.
And Chiri Chiri manages to talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, more food. And she loses her mind because
She's like-
Chiri Chiri's just spoken.
Yeah.
Because I also lost my mind. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
You're like, Cherry Cherry spoke. Yes, I am, because Cherry Cherry talks about listening to, like, the rhythms of the skulls, of the memories of the dead Larkins on
Yep.
Amia.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Dawn Shard.
We'll talk about Dawn Shard eventually, because
When I read it.
stuff happens in Dawn Shard. I liked how he did this. So he always said, you don't have to read Dawn Shard to get Rhythm of War, and Rhythm of War won't spoil Dawn Shard, and Dawn Shard won't spoil Rhythm of War.
I don't know.
And I think that's happened. I think nothing that actually happened in Dawn Shard is talked about in that interlude, other than the fact it's got Dawn Shards in it.
Yeah.
And that they visit Amir, and that, there's big skulls of dead Amiens. But the fact that apparently Chiri spoke to the dead Larkins was not in Dawn Shard. So that's new information. Yeah.
I assumed that was from Dawn Shard.
No,
and I was going to have to go and read and find out what he was doing with the dead creatures.
Now that I know he was talking to the dead Larkins, that makes sense with what happened in Dawn Shard.
Okay.
But in Dawn Shard, you don't find out that that's what he was doing.
Cool.
Yeah. So
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's very exciting. I'm excited to talk about Dawn Shard.
Yeah.
It's literally going to be 2 hours of me talking and Lucy not having any idea what I'm talking about.
No, because I feel like I'm just going to be sitting there going, Chiri was cute, and you're going to be talking about actual
Dawn
stuff.
Shard.
Last interlude is Taravangian.
Yes, so I'll do this one, Lucy, because it's got Taravangi in it, right?
It's got sexy Rlain.
Okay.
So this is mine.
Oh, but okay. I'll let you have this one, Lucy, because it's got Rlain in it.
Cool.
We'll do this together. Taravangian's there.
Taravangian's dumb.
Yeah.
He's really dumb. He's so dumb. He goes and eats some stale food because he doesn't even realise to look in a place where they deliver food to get the fresh food.
Yes.
He's so dumb
He's
today.
very, very dumb.
He finds out he's got a visitor, so he goes to the window, and sexy Rlain is there. And Rlain's like, you can be saved. I know that I've seen the future, and I know it's not set in stone.
Yeah.
And there's still a small light in the middle of your future of black.
Yeah.
And I feel like we can get you there. We can help you. And Taravangian's like, nah, mate, I'm good.
Yep.
Done. And then sexy Rlain leaves, and I wish he hadn't. And then Zeph appears, and he's like, what are you doing trying to get an oath stone?
Yeah.
You're not going to trap me again. I now know that's just a stone. It doesn't have any power over me. You can't control me again. And Taravangian's like,
he's so dumb, he doesn't understand.
Who are you?
Yeah, he's like, why did I do these things? Because when he was not dumb, he kind of wrote some notes for him to follow.
Yeah.
But now he's like too dumb to even read the notes.
And then he gets notes, and he attempts to read it.
Yes,
realizes that you can't really read
He's
when
trying to
he's this dumb.
manipulate Zeph.
Yeah.
And he's like written notes about how to manipulate Zeph, and he's kind of like, words and things. And Zeph's like, what's wrong with you? Like,
and then because when he's dumb, he's emotional.
Yes.
And he kind of breaks down, and he's like, Zeph, we haven't got much time here.
Yeah.
I need you to give your special sword to Dalinar.
Yeah.
Because Dalinar goes into Odian's vision sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think he can be killed in his visions. Give your sword to Dalinar so Dalinar can kill him. Because he's scared of Nightblood. Nightblood's the only thing that can kill him. It's the theory I'm working on. Go with it, Zeph.
Go with it.
And Zeph is like, you're trying to trick me.
Go
it's
away,
not
old
gonna
man.
work.
Yeah.
I will not be fooled by you.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. And then he leaves.
Yeah.
And that was Taravangian.
That's Taravangian. That was part 3 and plus interludes.
Yeah. Oh boy.
So yes, those were our thoughts on part 3.
Yeah.
I hope you guys have enjoyed. We'll have part 4 next week. And
Potentially. Got to read it first.
yes, it took Lucy. Yes, we'll see. I'm sure you will.
I don't know.
We were cutting it close with this one. So, and I think part 4's longer as well.
Yeah, but if part 4 is more interesting, I can get through it quicker.
Yes, there's some good stuff in part 4.
Then we're fine.
Yeah, I enjoyed this book. Thank you guys for watching. Follow us on 17shot.com. We have a Facebook, a Twitter, a YouTube, a Patreon, a Discord, where I am Overlord Jeebus. This one is Empress. I feel like I need to mention that now.
Nah, we're good.
And
I can shamelessly plug my stuff.
no one
if
knows
people
it's you.
Don't know it's me.
We have an Instagram and we have other things. So
If you do the Patreon thing, you get these videos early.
yes, if you do the Patreon thing, you get these videos early, as well as like other outtakes, because that's something we've started doing as well.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So hope you guys leave in the comments down below what your favorite parts of Rhythm of War Part 3 are, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.